we are talking about health issues related to virtual reality. So, the first in the list is what we call motion sickness, which sometimes is also referred to as cyber sickness. It is a common challenge users of virtual reality and augmented reality normally faces. So it is basically a disconnection between what the eye is able to perceive and what the body is able to sense. So it leads to dizziness and discomfort. All right. So another challenge is what we call the eye strain and fatigue. So extended use of VR and AR system can lead to eye strain, discomfort, and visual fatigue. So the eyes are often focusing on virtual object at a fixed distance, which can cause eye strain over time. The other challenge or the other health issue that it is coming out and clear when using these devices is what we call virtual reality syndrome. So prolonged VR usage can lead to what we call virtual reality syndrome, which include symptoms such as disorientation, difficulty in distinguishing between virtual and real environments. So you always uh, you always feel a sense of detachment from the reality if you have or you are experiencing this kind of syndrome. There is also the posture issue. So this is another issue that most of the time, because of how we sit and use the gadget, sometimes we take postures which are causing physical harm to our body structure. So users may adopt a natural pose or posture when engaging with these devices, which could lead to musculoskeletal problems over time. There is also what we call accidental injuries. Okay, now accidental injuries are basically the injuries you get when you hit yourself or you are hit by an object that is just next to your virtual reality environment or something like that. So what happened is users basically immerse themselves in VR or AR environment, might not be fully aware of the physical surroundings, so leading to accidents such as collision with objects or people around. So when you hit yourself against the wall or against an object that is immediately near your virtual reality and environment, you'll definitely get injured. So sometimes you need to put this away from the periphery and even use virtual demarcation that is normally provided within the VR or AR system. Okay, so we also need to look at what are some of the preventive measures that we need to put in place in order to protect ourselves and even effectively be able to get the best out of the virtual reality we are using without inflicting much harm to ourselves and generally affecting our health. So the first uh, treatment for motion sickness is to take frequent breaks. So you need to limit your duration of VR or AR usage or session so that it allows you to take break. There is also what we call the gradual exposure. So you don't need to spend long session at the start. If you're starting out to use or you're just starting to use a virtual reality device, you should start with shorter session as you increase gradually with time, so that you are able to build your body tolerance and also the body to adjust to accommodate what you're using. There is also what we call focus on stationary experiences. Now, it is imperative that you choose experiences that involve a minimal movement at the start when you're just starting out. So that one can be able to be built over time. But when you're starting out, in order not to experience motion sickness, you need to focus on stationary experience. So is in other words, you need to choose experiences that involve minimum movement to reduce the risk of motion sickness. There is also what we call anti-motion sickness techniques. This is a technology that is being developed, and it is something that is going to benefit users as time goes by. So the framers and the developers of this virtual reality system are coming up with anti-motion sickness techniques, which they think, or they are slowly incorporating into the VR or augmented reality system, right? So that people are able to not to experience what we call motion sickness. So developers are implementing techniques such as dynamic field of view reduction, smooth locomotion, basically to minimize what we call motion sickness. When it comes to eye strain and fatigue, you need to have proper lighting in your environment where you're using this virtual reality device. uh, you also need to have what we call adjust display settings for your device. So adjust brightness, contrast, and font size to optimize visual comfort with or within your device. So that is important. All right. Okay. You can also use the rule called the 2020 rule, which um, state that take 20-second break to look at something which is 20 feet away every 20 minutes. So you play for 20 minutes, or you use the VR 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break as you look for or review something that is 20 feet away. That one will also help you minimize eye strain and fatigue. Moving on. As for what we call virtual reality syndrome, you have to limit your usage time of virtual reality gadget and devices. This one is basically to move to protect yourself from what we call virtual reality syndrome. So avoid prolonged VR session to prevent yourself from uh, that feeling of detachment from reality. So we also need to do what we call grounding exercises, engage in activity that reconnect you with the physical world after you have used VR device. So it is important to remember that. Then as for the problem of posture, you need to maintain good posture. You need to be mindful of your body structure and figure when you're using these devices. You need to be mindful of your body posture while using VR or AR system. You need to use ergonomic accessories. These are basically accessories that have been created purposely to be used in such kind of scenario. So they always consider the way people should use them, and they always look into comfortability of the user. So you need to look at the device that I'm using. Are they ergonomically designed to accommodate my posture or the way I'm using the device? So in regards to what we call accidental injuries, you really need to use the boundaries and setting devices within the virtual reality. This can help you establish the boundaries or limits where your movement is restrained, right? Where your movement is confined. So your movement should be confined within a set boundaries. So these boundaries, you can virtually set them using the device